Today for this interview, I welcome Dr. Dinesh Aluthge, who is a development scientist in GreenCentre Canada. Very good morning, Dr. Dinesh.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're warmly welcome to today's interview session and thank you for giving your valuable time for us, Dr. Dinesh. Let's move to our interview then. First question. Dr. Dinesh, can you tell a little bit about yourself, family and parents?
So like you alluded to in the introduction, I live in Canada now and I work as a research scientist at GreenCentre Canada. I graduated from the University of Colombo in 2009 with a special degree in chemistry. My father is from Horana in the Caltech district. So I spent my early childhood years in Horana. And there soon after, my parents started working in Colombo. So we moved to Maharagama in the outskirts of Colombo. And I pretty much spent the rest of my life there till I moved out of Sri Lanka to do my PhD. So both my parents are medical doctors. I also have one brother who is a microbiologist. So pretty much everyone in my family has a science background.
Yeah, okay. Next, I would like to ask from you, how was your school life and what school did you attend? You said that you have moved from Maharagama from Horana.
So in Horana, I started my schooling at the Takshila Primary. And like I said, when we moved to Colombo, I joined Mahanam College in Colombo and spent the rest of my schooling years there till I completed my A-levels. It was a different environment, but it was a great environment for both academic and personal development. So I really enjoyed my school days.
So you did your A-levels in Mahanam College then?
Yes, I did my A-levels in Mahanam College.
Yeah, when you talked about your A-levels, would you mind if I ask your A-levels first?
Oh, not at all. So I did my A-levels in the biological sciences stream. I got 3 A's with a Colombo district rank of 19. My island rank was 35. So I did okay. And I always wanted to become a scientist, so I joined the Faculty of Science after my A-levels.
Yeah, so you have dropped here to become a medical doctor and you joined for the science faculty University of Colombo then.
Yes. I could have entered the medical faculty, but instead I decided to join the science faculty.
Yeah, after your A-levels, you chose University of Colombo Faculty of Science for your undergraduate studies then. How was the university life? Did you do any extracurricular things like sports?
The 5 years I spent at the university, 4 years as a student and a year as an assistant lecturer, were really great. I did pretty well academically, but I think I also gained a lot of other skills, made a lot of lifelong friends along the way. In terms of extracurricular activities, I was a member of the general knowledge team. We competed in a lot of quizzes and general knowledge competitions, and I actually won quite a few. But I was also quite active in various social activities at the faculty. So I helped organize a lot of events, and I think things like that are really important because they help you really develop soft skills and social skills that are really important, particularly later when you start a job and when you're trying to progress your career. Soft skills tend to matter a lot more.
Yeah, so you were in clubs also?
I wasn't particularly in specific clubs, but it was mostly, the faculty would always, I'm sure you still have these things, whether it would be a freshers welcome or a sports day event, there would be a lot of different things you would organize over the years. So I would always participate in them. So it's actually through activities like that, um, um, that I really experienced university life.
Yeah, doctor. Moving to the next question. Everyone has their own inspiration for what they like in their life. How did you decide to study chemistry, and when did you know you wanted to be a scientist?
So I think even as a child, I was very curious about nature and always wanted to be a scientist. I think it was during my O-level years that I really got attracted to chemistry, and I think it's at that point I decided I really wanted to become a chemist, and uh, I think mixing different solutions and even the idea of manipulating matter at a molecular level, there's something magical about it, and I think that's what really inspired to me to get into chemistry, and that's why even going into A levels I had already decided that I wasn't going to do medicine. I wanted to do chemistry, and that was the path I was always on.
Yeah, I think you have done great job in University of Kerala Faculty of Science then. Uh, I saw a photo of you winning a gold medal in your graduation ceremony. You have had a very successful academic career, like you said earlier. So it will be very useful to ask this question from you, Dr. Dinesh. In university, what strategies did you use to be successful in academics? Did you do any special things in academics like doing studies?
So I think the thing that was really useful to me was going to lectures every day. This was particularly important to me because I'm a very auditory learner. So I remember things I hear. So I always went for lectures and made sure I understood the material as it was taught. But I also tried to read a lot of textbooks, and try to learn a bit more about the material than what was actually required in the syllabus. Um, and I think that really helps you, learn a bit more, but also reinforce some of the concepts. Um, but another thing I always tried to do was to help my batchmates who had difficulty with the material, and I think teaching someone really helps you grasp the material in a much deeper way. It really forces you to understand the material in a more fundamental way.
Have you read any references other than the lecture notes?
Yes, so like I said, I would always read textbooks. Often I think this was the case back then. I'm sure it's the case now, where at the beginning of the lecture series, the lecturer would recommend textbooks or additional resources for the course. So I always refer to them, and also especially now, towards the latter part of my university life, there was a lot of resources available online, including lecture courses offered from different universities. There were uh, publications and other presentations on the material available online, and I would refer to a lot of that, and that really helped me gain a much broader understanding of the material that was taught.
Okay, doctor. After successfully completing your chemistry specialty, you moved for your higher studies. What university did you attend for higher studies, and How was your PhD studies then?
Yeah, so I did my PhD at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver in the group of Professor Parisa Mehrkodhavandi. And I think coming from Sri Lanka, where we have limited resources, joining a top university really gave me a platform to fully achieve my potential. And I was also lucky to have a really wonderful advisor who was and still is very supportive and helpful. Vancouver was also is also a really nice city. It's a beautiful city surrounded by mountains on one side and the ocean on the other side. So it was a really amazing experience. I really enjoyed the 5 years I spent in Vancouver.
Yeah, Doctor. Vancouver in British Columbia, right?
Yeah.
That means Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, then what about your PhD study area?
Yeah. So I did so. Generally, my research area is in catalysis, inorganic and organometallic chemistry, and a bit of polymer chemistry. So what I did was basically developing organometallic and inorganic molecules that can catalyze polymerization of cyclic esters. So you would make these polymers that are biodegradable, which was added benefit. So we were trying to promote more environmentally friendly polymers and as substitutes for the non-degradable polyolefin-based plastics. Um, but we did very fundamental work on these systems as well. We would study kinetics and try to understand reaction mechanisms and really probe the chemistry in a very fundamental way.
Then you did a postdoc after that. How was that experience?
Yeah, so I guess I started my postdoc in 2015 with Professor John Bercaw and Dr. J. Labinger at Caltech, the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena, in California. Um, Both of them were world-renowned organometallic chemists, and the 2 years I spent at Caltech really helped me enhance my technical skills. John is a really brilliant experimentalist, and Jay is really fantastic at experimental design, and I learned so much from them. I think both my fundamental knowledge and technical expertise really improved in those 2 years. Um, and Caltech is a much smaller school than the University of British Columbia, and it it has a smaller undergraduate population, but it um, emphasizes a lot on research. So a lot of the people you would meet at Caltech are either graduate students or postdocs. And because it was a small place, it was a very close-knit chemistry department, and you would interact with a lot of different students, different faculty members, and you would discuss science and help each other solve problems. It was a really amazing experience, and I think Caltech is very unique in that aspect.
So did you continue your polymer catalyst research from there too?
So the research I did at Caltech was again on catalysis, but the work was more around developing a more efficient process to make polyolefins. So uh, the the plastic sheets you find commonly, they are typically linear low density polyethylene, and they are copolymers of ethylene and another alpha olefin, and the process we worked on when I was there at Caltech was to really come up with a much more efficient catalytic process to make those polymers. Um, but it was again, we did a lot of very fundamental work uh, about with respect to system, lot of kinetics, lot of mechanistic studies um, on it. So it was a different process, but it was very much in the same vein of work that I did for my PhD.
For you have patents for the research you have done. So, what are the researches you have done for the patent?
Yeah. So I think I have three patents, and I think two of them are from my PhD. Again, the patent is for the indium metal-based catalyst that we had made. So one of the patents is for the dimeric catalyst we made, and the second patent is for a variation of that. And the I also have a patent from my postdoc work, and that is for the it was a tandem catalytic system where you use two different catalysts to make the linear low density polyethylene, and the patent is actually um, um, for that system we developed.
Yeah. At present, you are working as a development scientist in GreenCentre Canada. It is about green chemistry. Then. Actually, what green chemistry is?
So I think there are a lot of different definitions for green chemistry, but I think fundamentally it is developing processes that are better for the environment, less harmful than existing ones. And there are many different ways to achieve this. Say by making it more energy efficient, using a catalytic process instead of a stoichiometric one, using less toxic reagents. There are many different strategies to that, but I think ultimately what you're trying to come up with is a better way to make molecules.
Yeah. Then how does it differ from the normal chemistry that we are learning, that we are synthesizing things and like that?
Yeah, that's that bit of a tricky question to answer. I think, fundamentally, there's nothing different from, standard chemistry um, uh, versus green chemistry. It's just so I think the way to think about it is that green chemistry is a subset of chemistry, but I think in green chemistry, the focus and the emphasis is a bit different. You have a stronger focus on clean, safe, and sustainable processes versus, if you're not thinking about it um, actively, these are aspects that many, particularly industrial chemists and scientists, will choose to neglect. So I think I think it's a matter of emphasis and focus more than anything else.
Yeah, you talked about the research life and your researchers. So, are you enjoying your research life as a scientist? What is the best thing of being a chemist or a scientist?
I do, and I really like my work. I think for me, what makes my job really interesting is the problem solving aspect, because I tend to make different molecules. So as a synthetic chemist, every week I have to make a different molecule, and it's always a new challenge, and that's what makes it interesting. It's challenging. It um, sometimes pushes you out of your comfort zone, but because of that, it's never boring. So
Yeah, it's like seems to be interesting. Would you like to share with us what type of research are you working at present?
yeah, so because I work with a lot of private companies and big clients. I can't get into specifics of what I'm doing, but broadly speaking, um, um, like I mentioned, my work largely centers around synthetic chemistry, and often it is making all sorts of different molecules, and these could be small organic molecules, inorganic organometallic molecules, or they could be polymers, and polymers of varying complexity, different polymer architectures. So you go from you could be making a very simple small molecule one week, and the next week you could be making a very complicated polymeric system. Some of these compounds are known, some of these are being made for the first time, and a lot of these compounds are used in the semiconductor industry. That's kind of where I have specialized since I started my work here. In a way, it's a fairly broad set of um, synthesis that I do, but it's always interesting because of that.
Yeah. According to you, what are the new opportunities trending in the world for chemistry graduates now?
Um, I think one thing that has happened over the years is that a lot of research programs are very interdisciplinary, and they've become more interdisciplinary over the years. So there is a lot more mixing of chemistry and biology, chemistry and physics these days. The traditional subdisciplines of organic, inorganic, physical, and analytical don't mean very much after a certain point, because everything is connected to everything else. And I think there are things that are coming up in the horizon that I am really excited about, and I'm sure we'll hear more about these in the future. Are things like robotics and automation in chemistry, things like machine learning in synthetic chemistry. This is the great thing about science. It keeps on coming up with new and interesting things.
Yeah. Uh, Finally, what advices you want to give to the undergraduate students of university?
I think first of all, you do the best you can in your studies, but also don't forget to enjoy university life. Make sure you have a good time, because those years aren't coming back. And if your grades aren't the greatest, don't worry about it too much. If you're passionate about what you do, and have a good work ethic, things will work out.
Yeah. So, Dr. Dinesh, we are going to wind our interview now. Before we are winding our interview with Dr. Dinesh Aluthge, thank you very much, Dr. Dinesh, for your valuable time and participating for this to share your knowledge and experiences with us to encourage us. As Sri Lankans, we are very happy about the world-class achievements, and also as an undergraduate of University of Colombo Faculty of Science. Also, we wish you all the very best for your future. Also, thank you very much for the audience for their focus with this interview. I think we have had a very useful and productive discussion today with Dr. Dinesh. Uh, as final thoughts, would you like to say anything, Dr. Dinesh?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Sanutmi, for conducting this interview. It's always great talking to undergraduate students, and especially someone from the University of Colombo. And I just wanted to say that this is a really wonderful initiative, and I'm glad the department is doing this, and hope it continues. Yeah, and thank you again for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Dinesh. I also learned very good things from you, and thank you for that. Here we are winding our interview. I'm Sandhiti Bulele, undergraduate at the Department of Chemistry, University of Colombo.